In the world we live in today, hot hatches are expected to be running silly power of 200, 300 and even 400 brake horsepower, and anything below that isn't considered as a hot hatch or worthy of the hot hatch title.
It's 1980, Margaret Thatcher runs the country. There was Live Aid, there was Band Aid. The talk about bands were Duran Duran, Spandau Ballet, and the dominating hatch at the time was the Golf GTi, until they brought out the Peugeot 205 GTi, and what a car it is! So I just want to say a massive thanks first of all to the carburettor for lending me this car for today, and what an absolute joy it is, and what a bunch of nice guys they are as well. But what they're bringing to the table is, not only am I going to document my experience of this absolute classic car now, but they're giving you the chance to win this for £7.49, okay? So I'll get on to more about that a little bit later, but I thought I'd talk about what it's like. What was a hot hatch all about in the 1980s, comparing it to modern hot hatches nowadays, and what my true thoughts are on one of these. Because I can tell you now, the little time I've spent on it, I've absolutely enjoyed it. And this car is what hot hatches have stemmed off. This is the building block to hot hatches. All it is a car that puts a smile on your face and gets you to A to B, not the quickest amount of time, but sure as hell makes you smile during that whole journey. That is what it's about. It is so raw. So we'll start off with comparing it interior wise to your modern hot hatches, okay? Now, first of all, yes, it's no way near as luxurious, I'll be perfectly honest. You know, as soon as you get in the car, you're not greeted with a load of funky buttons at the steering wheel, you know, interactive driver displays, you know, funky settings on the dash, big sat-nav systems and units which you don't really need. All it is a plain steering wheel, and this particular car, a 5-speed manual mounted to a perky 1.6 litre with 115 brake horsepower, and that is all you care about. You know, your focus isn't taken elsewhere with, you know, looking at all dashes and, you know, oh, can I put it in the sportier setting? This car is just out the box and you drive it, and that's where I think these old school hot hatches just dominate the modern ones. Yeah, they're not as capable, I'll be perfectly honest, you know, but I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But it is just the way it makes you feel, you know. It is just my 2 feet, my hands, this manual gearbox, and your driver ability. That differentiates you from the boys and the men of the driving world, you know. It's not the most spacious inside. There's hardly any door bins, there's nowhere to really put, I've got a small bottle of water, there's nowhere that I can really store that. But you don't care, you're in the 80s, you don't care about connecting your phone. All you care about when owning one of these is getting in the car and having a laugh, you know. So how does it compare mechanically to a modern hot hatchback? Well, first of all, the word itself, mechanical, that's exactly how it feels. Yeah, it's not as comfortable, you know, it's not as quiet, it's not as quick, but who cares? This is what a hot hatch is meant to be. It's meant to be a car that you get in, out the box, no funky settings, and you just have a blast down some B roads and have some fun. It is just you driving the car, and that is what they're all about. Like nowadays, you know, it's so easy for people like me, people my age, to forget, you know, the importance and what really makes a hot hatch a hot hatch. You know, people focus so much on 0 to 60 times, it's about. All your input is making you drive this car. That's what it's all about, you know. I don't care that it's absolute boiling in here and I've not got air conditioning and, you know, I've not got cooled seats or I've not got a steady 16 degrees blowing in my face. You don't, because it's just about driver's feel. This was the car to have. You know, this was brought out to take on the Golf GTi. Now, I've not driven the Golf GTi and I've heard it's an absolutely wonderful car to drive, but this was the talk of the town when this came out in 1984. This was the car to have, and it was so much the car to have, it was probably the highest stolen car in UK at the time, because it was that desirable. Hence why not everyone could get one, because insurance prices were absolutely through the roof, and in some cases more than what the actual car was worth. But surely if you're making a car that has a high stolen stat, you're making a good bloody car. Come on, you can look at it in two ways. It's highly desirable, yes, but it's obviously a good car because people are wanting to steal it. This is where it started. It's the 80s, baby. You know, all you care about is A to B and having a right smile on your face, and this is exactly what this car delivers. It doesn't need to be the quickest car in the world. You know, everything feels so raw and so mechanical compared to your latest hot hatches. It's really hard to describe. You know, the throttle response is like nothing I've ever really driven before. You know, put my foot down now, you know, as soon as I say it, it's on the throttle. You know, it's old school. It's your throttle pedal, your foot pushing it down on a manual cable, on a manual throttle body, and that's it. This particular one, it is the 1.6 rather than the 1.9, which is the preferred engine. It has 150 brake horsepower in a tiny little car. A tiny little car. Yeah, it's not the fastest car in the world, but it's exactly what you want. And that's the only way that I can say it. Now, this particular one, as I said, you can get your hands on it with, well, you know, massive thanks to the carburettor for offering such an awesome car. Now, this particular one, it is the volume 1.5. Oh, the mechanical grip in this is it's just stupid. So this is the volume 1.5, so it is quite a rare breed of the 205 GTIs, not taking away the fact that they are a rare car anyway. Now, there's one of 300 made in this colour. Now, the additions it comes with, as opposed to the standard original 205 GTIs, which were brought out in 1984, it comes with some kind of power assisted steering. It feels a bit like a hydraulic rack, but it doesn't take away from the natural feeling. It comes with a bit of an upgraded dashboard, nice leather seats, and of course, you probably can see it is a nice open sunroof. But this car is just absolutely awesome. It feels so raw to drive. You're in a small little car. You've got a 1.6 litre engine, 115 brake horsepower, and round some country roads like I am in today, some lovely B roads, it is just, you can see, you don't need speed to have fun, you just need feel, and this is what this car delivers, nothing but feel. None of this fancy rev matching, I'm double clutching to get the best out of the car, and that's what it's all about. Onto the handling, you know, is it on par with modern cars nowadays? It's two ways you can look at it. One is, yes, it's probably not as capable, but the mechanical grip you get with no assistance at all is so good. Absolute joy driving this, and like I'd mentioned, the car, you can win it for £7.49. That's nothing. These cars are fetching over £10,000 now, and this particular one is in such good condition. Honestly, it's in such good condition. Everything about it is perfect. So, I don't care that it doesn't throw you back on the seat. It's just so raw. Chuck me back in the 80s, I'm born in the wrong area. Get a bit of understeer, then a bit of oversteer, it's perfect. What is my verdict on one of these? Is it as good as modern day hot hatches? You know, it's probably not as practical, it's probably not as good as fuel, it's probably not as reliable, It's not as quick, but does it make you feel like a boy racer? Does it make you feel excited when you're at the wheel? Does it make you feel like a schoolboy when you're driving it? Absolutely, and for that reason, that is why these new cars nowadays are nothing like the older ones. It's like saying F1, you know, back in the day they used to be slower, but imagine driving an 1100 brake horsepower F1 car for a manual speed transmission with hardly any features, safety features, as opposed to driving modern ones now, which is all automatic, all sorts of aids. What would make you feel more alive? And I think you know the answer for that, and hence why I've come to the conclusion that the way that this makes you feel is just next to none, and I don't think you can experience that anymore in modern hot hatches. I really don't. It's sad to see, and you know, us youngsters, people my age, they don't appreciate cars like this. You know, they'll see it drive past and they'll think nothing, but the real true car enthusiasts know how this car changed the game forever, and how this car is one to remember, because it really is something special. 30 years old this car is. I couldn't imagine what it was like when this rolled off the production line 36 years ago. It must have been some